We have the whole enchilada. All right. So without further ado, we'd just like to welcome Nikki.
Thank you. So this is Frank. In 2008, Frank gave me a call. He said, Mickey, Karen and I are going to take a sailing trip around the world. And I said, that's great. He said, no. You don't understand what I'm talking about here. We sold the house. We sold the cars. The girls are in college. I sold my plane. We're getting rid of all of it. We're disappearing on a boat for like 5 or 6 years. I said, okay, that's a little different now. He had a very popular blog at the time, the Google Earth blog, still around, not active anymore. He said, hey, my notes are messed up here. He said, hey, why don't you take over and write for the blog for me while I'm gone? We'll split the profits. You can make some good money. And the timing of it was perfect because a lot of people ask me like, all right, you were a freelancer. How did you make the jump from a freelancer at night with a full-time job to starting an agency? And Frank made that possible. You know, it's hard for a lot of people that are making a couple grand a month at night to quit their job. Well, suddenly I had that. Plus I was writing for him, made it great, led me to start Green Mellen, and really got me blogging quite furiously a decade ago. Before we get into that though, I want to back up a little bit and kind of go back from there. I really want to see kind of where we stand with you guys. So how many posts on average, say once a week on a blog somewhere? I know you do. Yeah, cool. It's a handful. Once a month? A couple times a year? Okay. How many of you want to post more often? Like, yeah, I think, yeah, we all kind of do. I was getting into quite a slump in 2016. I'd blogged a lot over the years. And then WordCamp US at the end of 2016 really got me inspired to get going again. I picked up a lot of tips there. I'm going to share some of those. Had a lot of questions going in. I got answered about where to put posts. You know, I have a personal blog and a business blog and other things, and it gets a little weird. But I've got a lot of that sorted out, and hopefully I can give you some tips on that. So I really have 4 different blogs I've written on. 3 are still pretty active. My main personal one is mickmell.com. The oldest post I can find from it is back in 2004. And this was, I switched to WordPress in May of 2004. I've been using WordPress for a minute. As you can see, the first post I did here, I went and edited core files in WordPress, which if you've used WordPress, you should never ever do that. So it's off to a bad start there, but I've improved since then. I was proud though, looking back, I got the capital P there that people miss a lot. So at least I had that going for me. But all told, I posted 670 times on there over the years. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Google Earth blog. Again, you can still go there now. He's retired it. He's not posting anymore, but there's still tons of entries on there. I posted 1,431 times on there from August 2008 to 2014. And people asked, how did you post so often on there? And I said, it was in the contracts. Like I had to. It made it a little easier when you're required to. But I made good money from it. It worked out well. But I picked up and developed a lot of tips during those years on how to find ideas for posts. And you know, Google Earth has a lot of cool stuff in it, but to write 1,400 different posts about it, you know, it takes some work to dig and find that. So we'll get into some of that a little bit. And then a side note we'll dig into as well, virtually every post in there just links off to a third-party site. And people love the site as a resource. Don't be afraid to link out to others. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. But I'm a big proponent of, you know, sharing other people's resources, and you become a better resource as a result if you're sharing links to other valuable places. Another place I blog, not as much as I should really, but is on the Green Mellen site. I posted a total of 605 times on there. And again, determining what to post here versus my personal blog has been a big challenge for me, and really a big part of why I put this talk together, because I talked to so many folks about that and struggled with it, and I've come to some pretty good conclusions. And again, I think a lot of you probably struggle with that. If you have your own little company, you probably have a company site, you still have your personal one on the side, and where do you post where? We'll talk some about that as we get in. And then we have a brighter web. It's the home of our Meetup that we talked about a little bit ago. I also have a podcast that goes through there, a bunch of video tutorials, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I think there's 172 posts on there now so far. So all told, about 3,000 blog entries that I've found that I've written, and I'm not a writer. We hired a writer. Like, I'm not a writer, but you can still get things done, get things written if you have some good plans of action on how to do it. So that's kind of where I am with stuff. Again, the big question I have is where to blog, figuring out where to put stuff. And to kind of frame the talk a bit more too, I'm a very tactical guy. If you've been to any of my meetups before, you know I'm not a rah-rah and get you excited about stuff. I'm like nuts and bolts, here's how to get things done. So it's gonna be a lot of that today. Over the years, along with those 4 blogs, I've had a lot of other niche blogs. I started one called Wearing Smartwatches. I want to write about all the cool watches coming out. Digital Earth blog to talk about the other, you know, Bing maps and all that kind of stuff. I had GTD help for getting things done, you know, productivity tips. I got way too wide. Of course, I started all these blogs and never wrote on any of them. So eventually I just took all those posts and put them back on MickMell, put them all just in one place. So that's kind of where I can write about anything I want. But again, even then, figuring out where to blog on McMell versus Green Mellen has been a big challenge. If you were at WordCamp in Philly last time, I went up to the speaker and asked him, one of the guys talked about it. I said, where do you decide where to blog? And he said, I don't really know. So it wasn't all that helpful, but made me dig in more to kind of figure out that question myself. So when it started Green Mellen, I figured, okay, I want to go all into this company. Allie and I are starting it. Let's really make it happen. So I said, it's just a little bit of code I did. You don't need to remember that. But I said, all the posts on McMell, put them on Green Mellen. I redirect everything over there. I don't care about my personal brand anymore. It's all about the company brand, which makes sense for a while. We'll talk about why it doesn't always make sense. But I figured if anyone finds any of my posts about smartwatches or whatever they might find, they'll see it in the Green Mellen umbrella and see how brilliant we are and hire us. And, it kind of had some good ideas behind it, but I've reverted back from that since then. But one man really made me change my mind about this, someone I've never met. Who can tell me who this is? Anyone recognize him? No. It is a pilot, but no, Louis Zamperini. Does that help? Louis Zamperini? Anyone know Louis Zamperini? There you go, from Unbroken. So Unbroken was a book that came out some years ago, later became a movie, pretty popular. But when I read the book, it was fascinating. He flew all these missions, got captured as a prisoner of war, went to all these different camps, and was all over the place. It was just, at the end, I was like, that was awesome, but I'm still kind of confused on where everything was. So I spent some time going back through the book and built a timeline of his life. I finished reading it. He made a Google Earth file, built a timeline of events. It was pretty cool. The traffic to this post was awesome. Got tons of traffic for a while, and then the movie came out and it spiked even higher. It was great. You can see the analytics for that post did pretty well. And it had, in that time, 33,000 views. Didn't go viral per se, but it got a lot of good traffic, which was great. But it was on the Green Mellen site and just destroyed our analytics. Made it just chaos to figure out, because our bounce rate was super high, because people would come here and see this, and you can see the bounce. Let's see, where's the bounce rate on that was 90%, which is what you expect. They search for Louis Zamperini timeline and they see it and they leave. That's what you would expect. Just janked up all the analytics we had on our site. So I figured, okay, let's take that and any other non-business stuff and put it back on McMell. And so I did that really last year, 2016, I guess, at WordCamp. After that, when I was kind of getting my act back together, moved that stuff back, redirected things again. And one thing that helps with that, kind of a minor thing, but if you do a redirect, it's called a 301 redirect. It used to be you kind of lose some of your Google juice along the way, passing stuff around. A few months ago, they confirmed, no. If you do a redirect like that, everything stays fine. You don't lose any traffic from it. Could lose traffic, I guess, but you don't lose any equity from it. So I figured, cool. I'm gonna put it all back, keep all my traffic, get things separated, get Green Mellen's traffic nosedive because we lost that post, but really the interactions went up. We were able to track things a lot better, see what was going on. Did a good job. And then as I was going through, I said, okay, I'm gonna go through the Green Mellen site and say, okay, this post can stay, this one I should move back, set it up. And I spent hours and hours doing it, but it helped me really start to see clearly what should go where. Ended up kind of with two pretty clear buckets. We had, Green Mellen on the left here, things like SEO success stories. And here's some great things we've done with search engine optimization, or writing WordPress posts via Google Docs, or things dealing with marketing automation, things that were clearly website business owner related. And then McMell posts are things like smartwatches I'm wearing and my morning routine and Brainscape versus Anki and other tools I use, and just kind of interesting things, but not really business focused. And it's kind of been a lot easier now. As I have an idea for a post, I can pretty quickly say, is this something that really is business focused that business owners will care about in the context of a website, or is just some fun toy that I have that I want to write about? And I tend to write more about that stuff anyhow, but at least I know quickly where to put it. And then again, back to my original issue is, if someone finds me on the McMell site for that, they still can figure out where I work. I have the sidebar with that. It's not like they're going to get lost and never hire Green Mellen if they find us. They probably won't if they find that, but it's not like I'm going to lose them, because there's still pretty clear ways to contact me there and stuff. Works out well. So that's really helped me quite a lot, just getting those two buckets clear. And then of course I have a brighter web, but that's really just Meetup stuff and podcast stuff and tutorials. That's always been clear. These that were fuzzy for a while, but it's gotten a lot better. If you look through recent posts on both, it's pretty clear, very, very different audiences, or at least very different intentions behind them. So one of my big problems, especially with Google Earth blog, was finding new ideas. And really it's two pieces I found of that to trying to find new ideas. One is finding new ideas throughout the day. I think ministers do a great job of this. I've always been amazed ministers come up with a unique sermon, good ones at least, unique sermon every Sunday, because they can see it in everyday life. They pull stories out of things that you don't really think of being a sermon topic, and they're able to spin it. I try to do the same with the blog. I'll see something and say, ooh, it's interesting. He has the HP, and I heard they did this thing, and I'm going to write a post about how he has that new feature on there that I hadn't thought about, and it becomes a blog post. So it's finding those ideas, and then keeping track of them and having them handy when it's time to sit down and write, say, gosh, I thought about that thing that he had, but what was Daryl's? I don't even know. You know, you got to keep track of that as you go. So we'll talk about both pieces, how I find ideas and how I track them as we go through. So Feedly, how many of you guys use Feedly? Just a few. Feedly I love. It is losing prominence. It's an RSS reader. It's where you can take feeds from sites and pull them all in. So instead of saying, I want to follow these 10 blogs, let me go check out this blog, nothing new, nothing new. Ooh, they have a new one. It just pulls any new posts from any blogs you follow into one place. Google Reader was the big one that did this years ago, and when they got rid of Google Reader, Feedly's kind of where most people went and does a good job. So I have hundreds of blogs in here. Some are UX focused, some are just comic strips, just anything I want to follow. I have my kids' teachers feed in here, I have Sprayberry Athletics feed in, so it's anything I want. Again, it can be technical, can be useful, can be fun. I pull it all in one place. It's great, and I can just kind of read through what's going on, get a lot of ideas out of there. Feedly's completely free. They have a $5 a month version with some pro features that really aren't worth much, but if you use it a lot, they're the kind of company that say throw them 5 bones, help them out if you use it a lot. Again, I use it every day. The key is to use it frequently, because otherwise things pile up and then you're like, oh, I have 1,000 posts in there, I don't have time for this. If you can stay on it, it's on my phone. I probably look at it, 6 or 8 times a day and say, okay, here's a few new posts. Ooh, that one looks interesting. I have time, I'll start it for later. You can hit a little button, a little flag here to see it for later, save stuff. That works very well. And then they added a new thing that I really like called Feedly Teams, where you can add teams. So Green Mellen has a team collection of feeds where I have all my personal stuff. I have my humor and some of that stuff up here. Then I also have team pieces down here. So if we have like a search engine one, I don't think it's showing up in the sidebar. Matt says, ooh, I found this new search engine blog we should all follow. He can add it in there and all of us will start seeing posts from that blog. Works well for all that. And then they have boards where you can pin things, kind of like Pinterest. I mean, use the boards analogy at least, but you can say, hey, this is a great one. The rest of the team should see this if they don't miss it. Let me pin this post to a board and we can have it. And that's what I do. That's what Brooke does a lot for blog ideas on the Green Mellen site. And that's what I do a lot for podcast ideas for the podcast. And frankly, Brooke does a great job of helping me populate the podcast as well. She's like, ooh, this story sounds great. Mickey should add that in the podcast, put it on that board. And then when it comes time for me to do the podcast each week, I pull up that board, work through the stories, share what I want to share, and it works well. The one downside for this is that Feedly itself is free or $5 a month. This is $18 a month per team member, which is more expensive than it should be. So we're $100 a month in this. We make use of it. It's one of those things, it's more expensive than it should be, but I feel bad ever complaining about a price I'm willing to pay. And I'm willing to pay it, so maybe it is priced fairly, but it sure feels high. I'm not a big fan of it, but we certainly get way more value out of it than the $100 we spend between the blog stuff Brooke does and the podcast and just other education we get to keep us all going. But for most of you, the single one for free or for $5 a month will do a good job. So that's where I get a lot of ideas. Another good way I get ideas for posts is just posting stuff I like. So you can see last April, I got a mechanical keyboard. I got that's the DOS Keyboard 4 Ultimate. Great keyboard, super clicky and loud. I got the slightly quieter version for the sake of Allie and for my wife at home, because I got matching keyboards both places. And mine, I did get that. It's not that you can't see the keycaps. It's actually blank, which is really, really cool. A little tricky at times, but I was surprised how well I knew all the blank keys. But it was kind of fun. But I figured, okay, I'm going to do this. I'll write about it. So I wrote a post about that because I thought it was fun and cool. I write posts about new cell phones I get, just anything that I think is interesting. And that's a good way to write blog posts. Louis Zamperini was another example of that. I read the book and I said, I want to make a timeline of this. I'm like, well, shoot, I'm going to share the timeline. Other people might be looking for it. And sure enough, a lot of people were. So that works out very well, just to post things I like. There's a whole lot more for Mick Mell than for Green Mellen. I don't tend to say things that I think are cool suddenly become great business things, but sometimes, but it's more personal. The one that goes the flip side that helps more with Green Mellen stuff is posting stuff people ask about. So on Green Mellen, we have a few such as this mobile response. What is a mobile responsive site? We wrote this back in 2012. It gets a decent amount of traffic from Google, but it's more, we've sent it to people a ton, especially back in 2013, 14, when it was a new thing. People are like, what are you talking about mobile responsive? And via email, I'd say, hey, check this out. We talked about it, I did a little video for it, and it kind of explains what the answer is, almost a little FAQ section. Same with the SEO success stories I showed earlier. That's a good one just to show to people. People say, sometimes they'll say, hey, we're thinking about hiring you guys, but show me some stories of what give me some case studies of what you've done. We don't have a lot of case studies. We need to build that up more, but I figured, okay, here's a good post. We talk about some SEO success stories, social metrics, what we did. I did that as an answer to a question. And again, those become great things there. We encourage clients a lot of times to do that too. Instead of having an FAQs page, just kind of listen things, do it as a series of blog posts. One big advantage for Google is If a single page is called FAQs and they're all listed on the page, you'll rank well for the word FAQs, which you really won't rank well for. Whereas if each one is its own page, you can rank independently for that question. So in theory, if someone types in what is a mobile responsive site, this would come up. Again, that's a hyper competitive word. I don't think it really did, but if you just do that a lot, you're going to get some that bubble up and do pretty well. So we do quite a lot of posts just answering questions either for SEO or, in my case, a lot of times just to be able to email to people. You know, when they ask it, I can reply back with, hey, here's the answer to the question in a nice blog post form. I'll usually try not just to, I'll say, here's the answer in a short form, but if you want more, you know, it feels kind of rude to say, hey, go read the blog, but kind of do that in a good way. The saving your ideas, again, you have all these ideas that come up from, you know, Daryl's laptop to mobile responsive sites to whatever you have. You got to sort of tuck them somewhere. There's a few different ways I do that and a ton of ways you could do it, and none of them are wrong. The main one I do is Google Keep. I love Google Keep just because it works on every device. It's on Windows and Mac and Chromebooks and Android and iPhone or whatever. So whatever device I'm on, I have my Google Keep with various notes and lists, but I kind of keep one of, hey, some blog post idea. This was from a while ago, but I say, hey, I should write one about parallax and where I think the future is for that. Or this is a personal one. I had 2 different insurance claims over the course of a couple of years. One was really good, one was really bad. So that's kind of a personal post, but it could be fun to know about those. Or the favorite plugins we use, or just different things. I throw ideas up there, and if I need to sit down and write a post, I'm like, all right, here's a lot of good ideas to do. How many of you guys use Google Keep? Any of you? Handful? What do you guys like using for notes like that? Yeah, Evernote is a phenomenal answer for that too. Yeah, again, it's the same deal. It works on any device you have. So Evernote's more powerful than Keep for good and bad. Keep is a lot simpler and quicker, but Evernote you can do a whole lot more with. So yeah, I used Evernote for years. A lot of good answers to this. Apple has their note stuff. I mean, lots of ways you can do this. Just the key is just to have it handy. So you say, ooh, good idea. And just when you have a second, just jot down just 2 words. So you remember what it is later and have it handy. Lots of other solutions out there for this kind of thing. Co-schedule is a popular one. You guys use that? I feel like you did. You guys do? Okay. You want to share a little bit? I don't use it, but I know it's popular.
Well, what we use it for is we're trying to get categories of topics. It allows us to start receiving traction in certain topics at certain times.
Okay.
And it allows us to schedule those for that. Like we know that LinkedIn, the best time to post is early in the morning and late in the afternoon.
Gotcha.
So then we're scheduling everything we want people to do
For those times. Gotcha.
So it makes
Cool.
sense for us to have that scheduled.
Gotcha. Awesome. And there's some good tools like that. I think they start at $40 a month. Not too bad. Very powerful system. We use Asana for a lot of things. And I just have a reminder in there that pops up on Mondays that say, hey, post blog entry, which if I have some time, I'll look at my list and write something. A lot of times I just check it off and let it come back next week. But Brooke and I both use this a lot. And she's, as an employee, I can say, make sure you do it. I can be a little more of a slacker, but it helps get things done. Just having it come up and bubble up, reminding you to do it, do that kind of thing. The building ideas in a post. I have this list of ideas, but what do I need to do with it? One thing I like to do with WordPress that Gutenberg will probably affect to some degree is I typically have lots of drafts sitting in WordPress. I'm not a big fan of, you can do it, but I'm not a big fan of writing it in Word and copying it over later. I just go right into WordPress and start writing, start getting some ideas down, save it as a draft, maybe start another one, save it as a draft. I usually have a handful in here. So when I say, hey, it's time to write a post, I can go in and say, okay, cool. We've got this draft already started. Let me go finish. Oh yeah, I need that one picture still. Let me go find a picture for that. It's good to go. Keep lots of drafts in here. Brooke actually does use Google Docs for her ones for Green Mellen. Google Docs and WordPress have cool integrations you can do between them where you write in Docs and like with one click, it'll suck it into WordPress for you. The cool thing there is she can write in Google Docs, share the link with all of us on the team, and we can go in and edit the doc live and, add what we need to. And then when she's done, she can have it suck in. WordPress is a little trickier for doing that with drafts. You have to make each person log in individually and, doesn't work as well. But in general, I just go right into WordPress and start writing. The tools are good enough for me. Part of Brooke's concern too, she's, again, an actual writer as opposed to me faking it. And so she likes some of the other tools you get in Google Docs that WordPress doesn't have natively. That helps a little bit too. Yeah, right into WordPress through Jetpack or through WordPress.com. I have a post for it somewhere I can send you. But yeah, if you're in Google Docs, there'll be a little sidebar. You can click the toggle up. It'll have a little WordPress sidebar. You say, ooh, add a new post and put these categories and send it. And it'll put it in WordPress as a draft. And you can head over to WordPress, check it out, make sure it came over correctly, and hit publish, and it works well. So again, that works great for Brooke because she can do it in Docs, share it with all of us. We can edit, add changes, whatever we want to do. And then when she's ready, she just click the button to put it over, make sure it looks good, publish, and off she goes. Again, I like to have them in here, but different ways work. Developer process, question mark, because I don't have a great process for writing, but I do try to follow a few basic things. And I did that post tiny on purpose just so you kind of see breaking it up is like the best thing you can do with a post. You all know this from reading. Big walls of text don't work. So I do try to at least break things up. This was my Anki versus Brainscape post, 2 different memorization tools I use at times, kind of comparing which ones have better features and stuff. But you see, I mix up with screenshots and bullets and different kinds of things. I usually try to start with just kind of the basic writing, like, hey, state the problem first. Here's what's going on. Share my story, my solution, whatever, and then end with some kind of call to action. So I can say, hey, I can't remember, people's names. I can't remember these things. So I tried these brain tools. Here's kind of the advantages of each. And hey, go try it for yourself. They're both free. Go check them out. My posts are so varied on topics between the blogs. I don't have a consistent process. Again, Brooke, being a better writer, probably does, and some of you may have some thoughts on that as well. But again, for the most of us, if we can just get more decent posts out, that's a win right off the bat. Big on that. I mentioned this before. Don't be afraid to link out. On Google Earth blog, pretty much every post on there was a summary with links out to third-party sites. Let me shrink this a little bit here. And we didn't use no-follow. A lot of you that get into SEO say, oh, we no-follow these posts and convert. It was all just clean links out to these sites. Just wanted to be a great resource for folks. And the numbers kind of backed it up. I wrote on Google Earth blog for 6 years. During that time, we had 22.9 million visitors, and 11.4 million came from Google. And so Google didn't hate us for all these links we had out. They actually loved us because people came to the site, they found it a great resource, and it worked well. And really, if you dig deeper into SEO, if you no-follow things, it really can hurt you more than it helps. Unless you're an affiliate post, if you have an affiliate post, you need to say, hey, go buy this on Amazon and I get 5%. You're supposed to no-follow those. But for the most part, just share the love. If you find something to be a great resource, let them get the link juice from it and rank better. You can see here, this was a map on Google Earth of the 2014 Tour de France. And I had some links back to our previous post, but then say, hey, Dennis here's his site, did this great thing, and here's a link to his exact thing right here. Trying to give these guys some love for great resources they created, help them out with that. And then the other side of this too, and this is a funner argument that I'm usually on the losing side of, but that's okay, is I rarely do have them open in new tabs. It's popular when you have an external link, have it open in a new window, and you can argue that back and forth. I don't like it just because there are really 2 sides of it. I think the top end and bottom end of users don't like it. If you do it to me, I'm kind of mad that you opened a link in a new window that I didn't ask for. I know how to do that myself. Don't do that for me. If you do it to my mom, on the other hand, you just lost her, because now she's going to say, you pop open a new window on her, she checks out, say, oh, cool, now I want to go back to that site. Like, my back button's broken. Screw it. And she'll just close everything down and start over. So it can go both ways. But that doesn't affect search engines, doesn't affect much. Just a little sidebar there. But in the case of this, with those thousands of posts I wrote, it was all just clean, completely followed, just in the same window, just let people go where they want to go, do what they want to do. And they came in droves because it was a great daily resource. So it worked well for that. Finding graphics for your post. This is something I struggle with a good bit, but here's some thoughts, and I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on some of this, but a few ideas to get started. Google image search. No, don't ever do that. A lot of you know, Google image search is a great way to get pictures, but you could find yourself getting sued as well. Getty's big on finding people that have used their images and sending you a bill for $1,000, or you can see them in court. You'll probably get away with it if you do it, but don't even mess with it. There's a lot of great ways to do it instead. Some decent suggestions. Canva is one I use a good bit. I see some heads. You guys used Canva before? Good tool. It's free, or they have a free version that works pretty well, at least for me. You can pull in some royalty-free images, put some text over it, do some neat things pretty quickly, put it together. Certainly not a powerful graphic design program, but for someone that doesn't do graphic design, it works well enough just to make it happen. Pexels, P-E-X-E-L-S is another good one. People like, what else do you guys like for just building simple social media images?
I like doing Promo Republic because it pulls the images from Pexels.
Okay.
So everything that they have, they have a really huge library and it's all royalty free.
Okay.
It can be used for commercials.
Promo Republic. Okay, cool. What else? Anything? A lot of Canva. What do you use? Yeah. Unsplash. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say you have an image in all your posts. So yeah. Is that free?
Free.
Okay.
I want you to give credit to the Dodger.
Okay. Yeah. I see you do it at the bottom of your post. You say image provided. Yeah, that works. But yeah, he has cool images in the post. Kathy. Pixel Bay. Okay. Yep. Oh, Pixel. Yes. Pixel Bay. Okay. Nice.
And I'm really paranoid. I go to Adobe Stock because I want to get the license.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, and yeah, other things I'll talk about in a minute. Yeah, there's various stock photography libraries.
Photos for a lot of the things that I do.
Yep.
A way of checking those. I have needed to
Okay, so he's asking if he uses his own photos, is there a way to protect them? Yes, but not any good ways.
The best way that I found is watermark.
Yeah.
So if, you know, even if it's your URL or something like that, you might be able, I know you can do it in Apple pretty easy. Windows, there's probably some programs where you can just take a small PNG of your URL and just kind of put it over.
Yeah.
If you want to be really annoying with it, you can spread it out across like the entire image in the middle, so if you crop it out and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that will at least people.
Yeah. And I've read good arguments against that too, saying anyone that's legitimate is not going to steal your image anyhow. If they're going to be illegitimate, they're going to steal it regardless, and you made your image less good by sticking a watermark on it. But it works well, so you can argue that. And then there's tools out there to disable right-click and make it where people can't download it, but those are usually quite easy to get around and download it. So if someone wants it, they can.
I get around that every time.
Right. And really what happens there kind of becomes where you've messed up my mom again. Now, if you disable right click, when she tries to right click to say something, you've broken it and what happened and close it all out. And, yeah.
I would be careful with watermark in some situations because there's many instances where you want someone to use your image.
Correct.
So let's say in my industry's design, stone, tile, grabbing that image and having an interior designer use it so their client is exactly how.
Right. Yeah, there's
So
advantages there.
watermark, I don't know,
Yeah.
makes you look a little cheesy. I'm not saying for everyone.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep. Agreed. So different ways to do it. But yeah, for me, if I use my own image, I just put it up there. If someone wants to steal it, whatever, steal it. You know, I don't worry about it too much. But I tend to worry less about that kind of stuff than a lot of folks. And there's reason to worry sometimes, but I'm the wrong person to ask because I'm very much a give it away and it'll all come back to you eventually kind of guy. So another way to get images though, you just mentioned this, make your own. We did this on our way to lunch one day. I wanted to write a post about how no one's sitting there looking at your slider on the site. You know, sliders are kind of not in vogue because they picture people sitting there like, what's going to be on the third slide? And so we did this. Custard Park just put up a new sign there, which looks fuzzy here, but it's actually a clean sign. But it's horrible. You drive by, it'll say like, today, and that's all you see. You know, it's just because they try to say these big, long messages on the sign when people are driving by. And they're expecting, Ashley and Brooke to sit out there and watch the whole message. Sign up for our new basketball camp today, which no one has time for that. So, but we took this picture ourselves. It's ours to use. You know, we could watermark it or whatever we wanted, but it was a great one for the post, so we did it, and that worked out well. Try to do that when I can. It's trickier. I'm not as creative on that kind of thing. More of a technical guy, but that one came to me, so we went for it and had a nice lunch out after that. So it was good. And then, of course, other stock photography. I think we've already covered this. iStock photo is a good one. What do you guys like for paid stock photography beyond iStock? Dreams Time, yeah.
Big stock and deposit photos.
Yeah, deposit photos I've heard a lot about. Yeah, big stock. Cool. Yeah, Adobe stock you mentioned. Yeah, lots of good places you can buy images. If it's an important post to you, spending 20, 30, 40 bucks on an image is not that big a deal in the long run. Unless you're blogging every day, and that's where you go to Canva and start taking your own, and it can add up there. Then the other thing you can do to get good images is to hire a designer. Not the most economically feasible for a lot of you, but that worked out well for me. Is if I ever need a picture, I say, Allie, I need a picture for this, and she'll magically make one, or it works out well. So hiring someone could work, but not necessarily the great way to go. Find a good theme to use. So for blogging, I'm getting near the end here, so we'll certainly have time for some questions and stuff as we go. But some quick thoughts on finding good themes to use for blogging. Typically, it's going to be different than a normal theme you'd use. I love this quote from Aveda. Aveda is a Swiss Army knife of WordPress themes. It does everything, which in my mind seems stay away from that kind of thing. If a WordPress theme is trying to do everything for you, it's not a good idea. In general, themes should be dumb and pretty and then add functionality via plugins and make it do what you want. We have a few Aveda sites we manage, and it's just horrible because every WordPress update that comes out, Aveda breaks. You have to update it, but then it breaks other things, and it just tries to do too much. You want a theme that's lightweight, looks good, does the job, and then add the plugins however many you need to make things happen. And we'll talk about some plugins in a little bit. I won't get into a whole lot of themes. We use StudioPress. StudioPress is great. Certainly lots of other good options out there. You Divi folks, Divi. I thought you were Divi.
Beaver Builder.
Oh yeah, Beaver. Yeah, Beaver Builder, Divi, and these are the conversations that'll be fun in a couple weeks too. We start talking about Gutenberg, how that affects Beaver Builder, and it's going to be a whole big mess there. That'll be kind of fun. But finding just a reputable theme. A woman I was talking to yesterday has her theme. It has a site that's having some issues because the theme is way out of date, but the company that makes it doesn't exist anymore. So she's just stuck. She has to get a new theme and redo her whole site because she picked it from some little fly-by-night company. Again, if you go with a Beaver Builder or a Divi or a StudioPress, or there's certainly lots of other reputable ones, they'll be around for a while. We use them for years. They're not going anywhere. They made, I think, $9 million last year. They're in good shape. They do fine. And along that line, this is the theme I use for my blog. You know, the pretty flowers, except there's no pretty flowers. Don't worry too much about what a demo theme looks like, because you're going to replace all the pictures. I always find it funny when they say this theme's perfect, but it's for churches. Like, it's not for church. If you take the steeple off, it's a dentist site. It works out well. You know, don't worry too much about that. Find what has the layout you like. I wanted one that was just clean, good text, went down, had a sidebar. Perfect. That's what I want. Replaced a few images. I was good to go. So don't worry too much about that kind of thing. And again, StudioPress I love in the context of Gutenberg. I know that if changes need to be made on the theme side of things, they'll take care of them and keep things running smooth come April and May when that rolls around, whereas some other theme you got randomly may blow up come April or May, and who knows what's going to happen. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, don't worry too much about what a theme looks like, just how it lays out and that it's simple. Again, StudioPress themes don't do much for you. They're dumb and pretty. But then I get it installed, it's pretty, and then I start adding my plugins to make it happen. And let's talk about those. So plugins being more effective. I've done whole talks on plugins before, and we'll probably do more this year we can talk about. So I figured for this one, we just kind of do a list of what I have on Mellen. On my just basic blogging site, here's the plugins I use, why I use them, and I want to hear some of your thoughts on ones you think are extra, ones I'm missing, or alternatives you like better maybe. There's just 2 pages worth. So Kismet comes with WordPress for anti-spam, for comments, great plugin. The one catch with it is that they sort of make you want to pay for it now, and for most of you probably should pay for it because it's a great service, but when they say, how much do you want to pay? You can slide to 0 and say, I don't want to pay anything. And if money's that tight, do that, use it. But again, if you can afford a few bucks, they do a great service, help them out. Yeah, exactly. It probably has little things popping up. Are you sure? Please help us. Yeah. AMP, if you're not familiar with AMP, it's Google's accelerated mobile pages, the little blue lightning bolts you see on your mobile phone sometimes for, if you click those results in search, they load super fast because the way AMP works is there's a plugin for WordPress that comes from Automatic, the folks sort of behind WordPress.com. It's a very reputable plugin. You just install it, and all your posts suddenly are amplified. And you know, over the course of a few weeks, you'll start getting the blue lightning bolts that show up. And it doesn't affect rankings yet. It's widely presumed it will eventually, but we'll see what happens. But it's a free plugin and makes your site a little bit better for most folks. Good to have. I have Genesis Simple Edits on there. So Genesis is StudioPress. They're kind of one and the same. It's a plugin that just lets you edit a few areas of the site without getting into code. We don't usually do that on big sites, but again, I'm throwing together a blog. I'll throw you a simple plugin like that to help out. Google Analytics by Monster Insights. I used to always, having fewer plugins is always a good thing. The fewer plugins, the better. So I used to always load analytics code, just I'd hard code it into the theme myself to not have an extra plugin. However, Google Analytics by Monster Insights does some extra things that you can't do with just the code in there. It can make it so administrators, if I'm on my own site, it doesn't count my visit against it. It ties into AMP a little bit more. AMP and analytics don't get along real well, and that makes them play nicely. It's a free plugin. I install that on most sites now just for the few extra goodies you get. iTheme Security Pro is a great security plugin. Security is another one people use a lot. WordFence is another one. What do you guys like to use for security? WordFence, yeah. I mean, there's just a handful of them that are really pretty good. iThemes I like better, and really the reason I did iThemes over WordFence, I like them about equal. iThemes to get a developer license for all the sites we needed was going to be like $300, and for WordFence it's going to be like $3,000. Like their prices don't scale well for a lot of sites, so iThemes won just because it was a more reasonable price for that. Jetpack has a whole lot of stuff in it. We've done meetups just about Jetpack because it has so many modules in it, lots of cool stuff. Gives you the ability to connect to Google Docs for that sort of thing. Yes. Just because people are going to try to hack you. And if you keep WordPress updated and you have a decent password, you're probably okay. But it's a free plugin. Why not? Just give it a little more security. They say the typical website will have its first hacking attempt about 30 minutes after it goes online. I mean, and they don't care if you're big or if you're popular. They're just wanting to get numbers, and they're going to attack you. And they probably won't get in if you stay up to date, but give yourself a little extra protection.
As soon as you get serious amount of traffic, someone will try and hijack the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So if nothing else, just hijack the traffic for 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons they might do it. And in most cases, they don't know who you are. They don't care who you are. They're saying, hey, there's a new site. I'm going to just try this attack on all these sites. Oh, I got in on that one. Sweet. Oh, I got on that one. Now I have a new attack. Yeah, it's just to expose you. Yeah.
You understand by hijacking traffic. So they'll just grab the traffic, route it someplace, for 3 or 4 minutes, and then you'll see that it's happened.
Yeah, just to send them to their pharmacy site or whatever garbage they have. Yeah, just to do it. Or they'll be a little more subtle about it. We saw one that had some hidden links that were display none in the bottom that they were just trying to make sure Google saw those to try to give them some credit for the links on the site, but hopefully you won't notice them. And it was actually a security site, a home security site that had that, which was ironic, but yeah. So just having that, again, there's free plugins for it. It's one of those, why not, just in case. Yeah.
Just for a personal website, not even hooked up to SEO or anything like that. I have my URL in my email, and I have it listed on one of the blogs that I regularly submit to. Instead of full-blown security, I just have a passphrase for my login, but it'll track the amount of failed attempts, and I'll usually get over 1,000 failed attempts a day. So
yeah, again,
just to give you an idea.
Yeah, little things you can do. Like if your username you log in with WordPress is admin, you should probably change it because a lot of hackers will just try that. They'll say admin and they'll try a bunch of usernames and just try that because they're going to get into enough sites that way. So you make your admin Mickey instead. They're going to try admin and just move on. They're going to waste their time unless you're big enough that it's worth their time to waste, you know. But most of the time, they're just going to run some automated stuff against you. If you have some base security, they're going to say, they're not worth my time. I'm going to go to an easier target instead, and you're off the hook. Jetpack actually has some security pieces in it as well. It has some brute force prevention stuff to kind of thwart that a little bit, the multiple attacks. And again, Jetpack we could talk about all afternoon just with all the stuff, but lots of neat things in there we use quite a bit. Managed WP is one that we use. It's a dashboard we can log into and see all of our client sites, and we have like 150 sites in there and say, oh, these ones need some plugins updated, that one needs WordPress updated. Let's clean it, you know, just kind of a way to manage it all in one place. So I have it here. The cool thing they did last year is they changed their pricing, which hurt us, but helped pretty much everyone else. So I was okay with it. And again, I won't tell them this, but if they doubled our price tomorrow, I'd be okay with that too, because it's a phenomenal, phenomenal service. GoDaddy bought them last year, which worries me a little bit, but so far so good. But it's a great service. What's neat now is it's free to use for as many sites as you want, completely free to update plugins and update WordPress and do monthly backups and stuff. But you want daily backups, it's $1 a month per site. You want daily security scans, it's 50 cents a month per site. And so in our case, it adds up to like $300, but again, for 150 sites, it's $2 a month to have them in this with all this great stuff happening. It's kind of a no-brainer. And again, for most of you could add a dozen sites to it, and as long as backups aren't a major concern, it's free. And if you do want backups, then it's $1 a month per site. It's awesome. Medium, I use the Medium plugin to Medium, you know, the blogging site that feels a lot like Gutenberg. It comes out. What's neat with this plugin is I have a Medium account, and that's one I struggle with, like, okay, maybe I should post this post on Medium, maybe on here. With the Medium plugin, it does a couple of neat things. It'll cross-post to my Medium account automatically. You say, okay, you cross-posted, great. Now you have duplicate content out there, which can be an issue. What it also does is it creates a canonical link saying, hey Google, I posted it to Medium, show it there, but the one on my site's the real one. Don't even worry about that one on Medium. That way you get the traffic and followers or whatever you have on Medium, but the one on your site still is the one that Google looks at and you get all the credit for. It's a free plugin. So again, the easy way just to get a little more traffic maybe to your stuff without a lot of effort.
Is there anything negative from an SEO standpoint?
I don't think so. I mean, again, if you have that right, I don't think there'd really be anything else. Yeah. Anyone know of any other downside to that? And it's a good question. I mean, duplicate content's the main thing I'd be worried about. And even then, you'd probably be okay because Google should see duplicate content. People say there's a penalty for it. There's really not a penalty. Google just says, hey, I see this same thing in 2 places, so this one's the winner and that one I'm not going to ever show. You want to make sure you're the winner. And Google typically will say, hey, this site posted it. Later it showed up on Medium, so I know this one's the winner. But if you have, it's a canonical tag is what it's called, just saying, hey, Google, this is the main source of it. And so this plugin does that automatically so it doesn't get confused with Medium. And it's, as far as I can tell, it's just a win-win all the way around for a free little plugin. And then we have a few others. Post list featured image. So with all my chaos on McMill of adding posts here, moving them over here, and combining stuff, a lot of them don't have featured images. And with the layout I have on the site, it has a nice featured image going down the side. A lot of them are missing that. It can be hard to tell which posts have it and which ones don't. We have a lot of posts. So what this does is in the back end of WordPress, when you look at your posts, it'll say title and date. It'll show the featured image next to each one. So I can scroll through and say, ooh, that one's missing one. Let me fix that. That one's missing one. And as I have free time, I go through and work on some of those. Push press, I think, is less important than it used to be. It's a tiny little free plugin. Used to stand for PubSub Hubbub. They've renamed that to WebSub. But basically, it's saying when you publish a post, it immediately notifies Google and a few others that you've done it. The biggest advantage, again, I think, is for duplicate content. You want Google to know instantly that you are the main source of this, because kind of like with security things, if you have an all popular blog, as soon as you publish something, 10 other spam blogs are going to copy your post and post it on theirs. You want to make sure Google knows you're the winner. And you can send out DMCA notices and deal with all that. But again, I don't worry about that crap. As long as Google knows I'm the main source of it, they can republish it because it's not going to rank for anything as long as Google knows I'm first. So that's one more way. Just as soon as I hit publish, Google knows I published it. So they see these spam copies come up later in the day, doesn't really matter as much. And again, that's pretty much happens automatically with sitemaps and other things, but I keep it in there just cause. Really simple SSL. Most of you should have SSL on your website by now, or HTTPS with the green padlock at the top. Google has said that definitively is a ranking factor. It will help you rank better if you have that. Most web hosts, it's free to add now. If your web host wants to charge you for it, find a new host because it should be free. Most decent ones are. It gets a little tricky though when you turn it on. Your site will work both ways, and there's a little bit to it to make sure you set it up right. Really simple SSL is a plugin you turn on. It does most of the dirty work for you and kind of gets things squared away and set up redirects. And we've talked more about that in separate meetups. There's a little more you can do, but if you install that plugin, you're pretty much good to go. Yes. About half of the stuff will be permanent and half won't. So it'll change some settings and stuff that'll always stay, but it also does some real-time things. If you have old posts with the HTTP thing, it'll kind of flip them in real time for you to keep things solid. So I usually leave it on to help me out. Correct. Yeah. In theory, I would turn this on, let it do its thing, do a search and replace. You could do some things and then turn this off. Yes. There's ways to get around it. Again. Gotcha. And you can just check and make sure you have that padlock showing up. Turn it off and see. Your homepage should be good. Look at a few other pages. If the green padlock stays there, good. If it turns into a little squiggly thing that's saying there may be some issues, then you can either go to like whynopadlock.com. It'll show you what exactly the issue is, or just turn it back on. Like again, in this case, it's just my personal blog. Just do it for me. You know, I don't want to spend too much time fiddling around with that. But again, for the sake of a bigger site, you want to minimize plugins. You know, the fewer the better. You can spend a couple hours or an hour and work that out yourself, and then get rid of that plugin, and the site will run a little faster.
I had to lock on a couple of my pages, but then on some of them, it didn't show up because the links were to outbound sites that didn't have the lock.
Now, links to outbound sites shouldn't affect that. There's something else going on.
Yeah, well, that's what GoDaddy told me. So, yeah, it told me like some of the links that were going to other sites that didn't have the SSL. Yeah,
a link to an outbound site without it won't matter, but there's something. So you go to why no padlock and put in that long address for whatever that specific page is. It'll look through the page. It'll tell you what's wrong and see what's going on. And then holler at me if you can't figure out what it is. The other cool thing with SSL that helps if you have that, makes your analytics look a lot better. If you look in Google Analytics much, you've probably seen in the past couple of years the amount of direct traffic to your site go way up. Which you say, okay, it didn't come from Google. It wasn't from referral link. What is all this direct stuff? All these people typing it in. And what it is, if a secure site links to you and someone clicks through and your site's not secure, Google can't deal with that, so they call it direct. Just kind of put in that bucket. Doesn't hurt your traffic, doesn't hurt your numbers. You can't really see what's going on. You can't understand your traffic as well. So if you have SSL, then regardless of what kind of site it is, they link to you, the traffic shows up properly in analytics.
Okay, I have a big problem with this right now.
Okay.
Clients' direct traffic is completely wrong.
Right.
So I'm struggling with why it's been wrong.
Okay.
And you say that last paragraph you said is really the reason.
So do they have SSL?
That's an SSL problem.
Okay.
So you're saying that, okay, secure site goes to insecure site, unsecure site.
Right. Yeah.
Google interprets that then as direct traffic.
Correct. So that could be. If it's insecure to insecure, it's fine. Secure to secure is fine. And insecure to secure is fine. But if you're not secure and they are, then that shows up in direct. And now that, 75%? Correct.
This entire Google Analytics.
Correct. Everything else is still good. The number of visitors you have is right. The bounce rate's right. The pages, but like where they come from, don't know. You could assume probably a lot of those were referrals that are broken. But yeah, 75% of the web is secure now. So that would mean 3/4 of the sites that link to you, if you're not secure, are going to just show up in that direct bucket and mess up your analytics. And again, it's good for ranking better too. We all want to rank better. That's the main thing. SSL does not help with security though. To that point, people confuse that. They say, I have an SSL, so my site's safer. It's really not safer. A hacker just can attack you securely now so you still need the other stuff on there, but it's good for a lot of other reasons. Redirection, I love, is a great plugin for redirections. Again, with all the chaos of I had this post here and that post here and all the stupid things I've done over the years, it's nice to be able to just kind of clean that up and say, hey, this link, if they come here, is actually now that post, and this link is now that post, and this link's over in green Mellen, so if they type that in, go over there. It's just a good plugin to manage that. They've made a few changes the last few months that are just brilliant little UI tweaks to make it so much easier to use. We use that a lot on all new sites when we launch them, because a lot of our clients will have their old, about.html is now /about, so we want to make sure it redirects over, and so that's an easy way to do it with a plugin like that. Simple social icons is simple social media icons. Again, you could use an Allie Green or someone to develop some cool custom ones for your downloaded icon pack. This just gives you the simple little social icons. You can choose a color for them, choose how round they need to be, how big they need to be, and they show up in the sidebar or whatever. These are for your social networks. This is, people get a little confused with social because there's really two sides of it on your site. There's the go share this on your social media and come find me on my social media. This is for the come find me. This is the come find Mellen on Facebook and Twitter and all that. If you want the go share this on your Twitter, Daniel, that's, you need a different plugin for that. We use Jetpack for that typically, but there's different ways to do that. But this is for the come find us on social media icons, not the go share this and help us get famous. I use the SEO framework on this site. I usually use Yoast. Yoast is much more popular. The SEO framework is like 1/10 of the size though. It's a much, much faster plugin and does most of what I need. So I'm playing with it some. Clients, we still use Yoast for the most part. SEO Presser is another one we're looking at that we keep saying we're going to use, but we still haven't actually used. We still default to Yoast so often. Yoast is a phenomenal search engine optimization plugin. It's just enormous and does so much stuff that I don't need or want. It's just a bulky plugin, but does a great job. So this is lightweight and uglier, a little harder to use, but does the basic things anyway. Change the titles, change this, have a sitemap, move on with my life.
What's your opinion, Nick, with the, or have you used Yoast Pro?
I haven't used Yoast Pro. I've used some of his other pro tools, but not the main pro one.
Well, the reason I switched to it is it has drill and redirect.
Okay, yeah.
Which is a big side.
Yeah. Yeah, so Yoast Pro will kind of get rid of the need for redirection because it'll be built into Yoast Pro there, and they do a good job. And again, Yoast is, they're huge in the WordPress community. They support the community very well. Love them to death. Just, again, and this site's simple. I don't need a whole lot. Just give me a sitemap and some things to move on, but good thing there. And then WP Rocket we use for caching. A lot of good caching plugins. What do you guys use for caching, those that do?
SiteGround, they use the SG.
Yeah, SiteGround has their own built-in. WP Engine has their own. More and more hosts have it built in. Yeah, WP Fastest Cache is popular, and WP Super Cache is popular. W3 Total Cache is popular.
Was it W3?
Yeah, I think it's what I meant to say. I think I said it wrong. But yeah, W3 Total Cache. There. But WP Rocket is just a caching plugin. For those that don't know what that means, that's so in WordPress when you say, "Hey, WordPress, load the about page for me," it just doesn't conjure up a page. You have to look at hundreds of files and pull your database and kind of build the page on the fly every time. It's a lot of work to build it every time. So a caching plugin says, hey, the first time they load it, let it build the page, then take a snapshot of that. And the next person that looks, just show them the snapshot. Save yourself some effort. And so web hosts love it because it's so much easier on the server. Pages load a lot faster. You can get some little hiccups in it if you go change your about page. It doesn't refresh the cache properly. You'll see the old version. You get some of that kind of stuff. But the plugins nowadays are pretty solid for that. It really just makes your site load so much faster, which again, one of those rare things that Google doesn't like to say what really helps you rank better or not. They kind of like to be secret. They've said SSL helps. They've said speed helps. If you have a faster site, you will rank better than if you had a slower site. And a caching plugin is a great way to do that. WP Rocket is a solid one, but if you have other ones you like to use, that's probably perfectly fine too. And WP Rocket, I like, they do work with WP Engine and some of the other ones that have caching built in. They'll do a little bit more work on top of it than some of the hosts will and get a little extra oomph out of it. But again, so many hosts do SiteGround stuff, do a pretty good job out of the box that you don't necessarily need to worry about that.
I think my host doesn't let caching.
It could, yeah. Some don't. If they have their own caching, they don't even let you do it. And that's fine because they're taking care of that for you automatically. Cool, you've got it taken care of regardless. So that works as well. Yeah, so that's all I have for this. So go publish. Let me know if you guys blog. I follow a lot of you already in my Feedly, but if you start something, let me know. I'm happy to add more in there. See Daniel's pop in all the time. All that kind of stuff. But yeah, and if you have thoughts, anything you guys have to share, I'm sure others in here would want to hear about. So, and others on the web would want to hear about. So yeah, do go publish and share that.
Is there a sweet spot for how often you post?
Well, if you want steady traffic, yeah, there's two different questions there then. How often should you post in theory? How often for steady traffic? And there's two disparaging lines of thought. One is post as often as possible, and the other is post only when you have something awesome to say. So, and I'm kind of in the middle. I lean more toward the post more often when I have something good to say. We have people like, oh, I've lost his name. But yeah, there's guys that say, oh, don't post unless you have something amazing to share with the world, and then write a post about it. And I do that. I'll never post probably because I have stuff that's good, but I mean, you're not going to be blown away by the fact that I wear a Pebble again sometimes. So I'm more of I think once a day is a great goal. I think once a week is still a great goal. I mean, once a week's tough enough. I think once a week's probably where people should aim for. if you can pull off daily, that's awesome. And I've done that for good stretches of my life, but right now I'm aiming for once a week and struggling with that a bit, but yeah. Kevin.
Okay, so I'm not a WordPress guy, I'm just a writer and marketer. What's the point? What's the goal of blogging every day? What do you get out of it?
All right, so a few things you get. One, I mean, he talked about for traffic. I mean, you get more people to your site. In theory, they turn into more visitors. That's kind of the main goal most people have. I think education's a big one. You know, like part of the reason I'm doing the Gutenberg talk in 2 weeks is I've not dug into it as much as I should. And the fact that I'm going to be presenting will force me to dig in. You know, they say the best way to learn is by teaching. And so same with writing. A lot of times I'll write a post. I'll know 80% of what I want to say, but I got to go research and find the rest. So I'll learn a lot from posting. To raise your own credibility, you know, in theory, people see Green Mellen is more credible or Mickey is more credible because of that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of good reasons. SEO is kind of the main one we tell our clients, though. No, there's nothing. It is, yeah. I mean, search engines is probably the main one people go for, and really the main one we try to do. And then the second one, I guess, the second most important is probably for sharing information with our clients that they want to see. Even if they don't come up in Google, people still come to our site. Like a lot of the posts Brooke writes aren't keyword optimized, but if people come to our site and read them and say, wow, they know about this, they know about that, and they must be smart, and they post it often, they're around, and, you know, just to look reputable and to kind of sell people after they've gotten there.
And building community.
Yeah.
Building a readership, an audience.
Yeah, kind of goes back into, yeah, building your, yeah. Yes.
I've seen some posts that are like a paragraph, and then I've seen some posts that are like an essay. What, like, does it really matter how long?
Good question. It does, but it depends who your audience is. Google, the typical thing they say for Google is 350 words or more. The long ones tend to do well. The really long, awesome ones, you know, you get those long posts that are amazing. That's the ones where they posted when it's something awesome to say and they get shared a lot. That's a lot of work. I tend to say 350 words or up if you can, but again, I'm not a big fan of just drivel either. If I have something to say and I can say it in 200 words, I'm just going to call it a day and say in 200 instead of just adding in more fluff at the end to make it longer. So again, I think you're better off if you can get a little more to it, but yeah.
With Yoast, they're talking a lot, Mickey, about cornerstone content.
Yep.
I don't know if you spent some time with this.
A little bit.
I'm a little ambivalent about it because, you know, they're talking about 500 or 600 words at a minimum for cornerstone content, plus the obvious stuff, alt tags and all
Right.
that kind of thing. I just, you know, I'm struggling a little with,
Gotcha.
is this something I really need to be paying attention to? Or is this something in 2 years I'm going to be going, that was
Yeah.
good.
So Yoast in general, or any of the SEO plugins, most of what they do is just kind of, I say it's a dude in the Netherlands telling you what his algorithm thinks your site might be looking like. I mean, take it all with a grain of salt, because so much of Yoast is just saying, oh, you have a green light on that. I'm like, no, it sounds horrible. Why do you have a green light there? And the cornerstone's the same way. The cornerstone, for the most part, in Yoast doesn't do anything. It's just kind of telling you this is one to focus on. And we do that usually with our pages. That's kind of what I tell folks. It's not that different when you write a site. People say, what's the difference between a post and a page? I say the page is something that's going to live forever. You have links driving to it. They're, you know, cornerstone kind of things. Posts just kind of come and go, and it's a wave. And that's sort of how I see that.
I mean, the hint I would give anyone who's starting with Yoast is you can put in the most completely garbage long tail keyword. I mean, absolute no value to the site whatsoever. And then if you just follow all the Yoast rules, you'll get a beautiful green light on your garbage.
Right. And you're never going to rank for anything, but I got all the green lights, so I don't ever, yeah, people get hung up on green lights. I'd say to people using Yoast, I always look at the green lights just to see, like, holy cow, he's right. I did not add the keyword to that, you know, alt text or whatever. But for the most part, yeah, don't get hung up. I think people spend hours trying to get all the little green lights lit up. You could have written 2 more posts. You'd be a whole lot better off writing 2 more posts than dealing with that. But
My favorite thing, and I don't use Yoast a lot, and I don't really pay attention to any of the green lights except for the passive voice, because it will catch you writing in the passive voice.
all right.
And if you lean towards that way, it's a great way to go, oh, I need to make that more.
Interesting. I've not really looked at that. Okay, cool.
But again, I would point out to anyone that was going to really go down the Yoast trail is you can be the author of your own demise by just starting with a crummy, you know, everything is based on the keyword you enter.
Correct.
And if it's valueless, hey, Yoast is going to tell you you're a superstar.
Yeah, if you really want to rank well, you should do separate keyword research using Moz, or there's a whole bunch of tools, Ahrefs, other tools, to find what keywords are actually worth going after, and then plug that into Yoast, and Yoast will then help you get that keyword to be optimized on the page, so you know you have a good keyword that people search for that's not super competitive, that has all, you know, the stuff that makes a good keyword, that then Yoast will say, now we've made it look good on the page, and yeah, go from there. Because yeah, they'll let you optimize to death, and you'll rank great for something that no one ever searches for, you know. You'll end up,
Do you have anything going with SEMrush? Have you used it at all?
not in years. I mean, it's popular. I have nothing against it per se, but just we're big in Moz, M-O-Z, Moz.com. We pay for their pro tools. We pay for their local tool. We love their tool set. It's great, but there's other ones that are certainly very solid out there too. I don't want to say they're the best, but I love them. And Moz has so many great free tools. If you just follow their blog, we have their blog in our Feedly. You should follow their blog, because they put out tons of great content on how to rank better. They have a series of videos every Friday. They have their Whiteboard Friday videos that are like a 10-minute video of Rand and some of the guys just talking about a topic for the week on a whiteboard. It just makes it super digestible. Like, you know, how should you do keyword research if you're in a tough industry? You say, well, try this, look at competitors, do this, and kind of walk you through. And we watch those a lot as a team over lunch when they say, hey, let's watch a couple Whiteboard Fridays to kind of catch up on, you know, whatever topics. And then if you want to pay, because Moz is not cheap though. I think we're $200 a month we pay for it, which again, we use it on a lot of sites with a lot of keyword. It works out for us, but for a solopreneur or something, $200 suddenly is a much bigger bite, you know. But yeah, do that before you get into Yoast. And that's really, I talk about SEO Framework so much smaller than Yoast. That's why, because SEO Framework does the work for you, but doesn't do any of the green lights and helping you out with stuff, which can be of value. But like on McMill, I don't care about that. I just want to get stuff in, put in my keywords, maybe change my meta description a little bit, call it a day. But if you want the help with all the stuff, that's what Yoast builds in. Yep, all-in-ones, yes, they're a very popular one. Yeah, I haven't used that one in a while, but nothing against them either. Just yeah, they're a great place. Really, I think there's 4 really good SEO plugins, and heck, maybe more I don't know about. But yeah, Yoast, all-in-one, SEO Framework, and SEO Presser. I can vouch up for all 4 of those being pretty solid in slightly different ways, but yeah.
I would suggest if anyone's in a complicated website, there's a pretty cool tool that gives you broken links.
Okay, that's
And you can pass them
It
out.
gives you what? I'm sorry.
Your broken links.
Yeah,
Broken
the-
links.
Inside of it.
broken link checker is a popular one. There's probably others out there. Most hosts, yeah, it's free. It'll show you. Here's all the places that you have broken links to your site. You need to either correct your typo or find a new source that they went out or whatever. Most hosts don't like that plugin. So what I suggest to folks, install it, run it, deal with the results, and then deactivate it for a while or delete it for a while. And only do it periodically. If you have it running every day, your host will probably send you a message saying, hey, you're beating up our server, because the broken link checker is hard. It grinds on the server looking at everything. And yeah, some hosts like WP Engine and some others, I can't say for sure, but don't allow it just because it's so hard. But it is, yes. You want good user experience, and them clicking on a broken link is not good user experience.
You can set it up to notify you.
Right, if you leave it running, yeah,
A link on the site is broken.
yeah, yeah.
And that's,
And there's some free ones. What is it? SiteFrog? That it's you can run it. It's free, and it'll run and check your site for you for broken links.
Yeah. A broken link checker is free too,
Is that what
yeah.
it is, SiteFrog?
I've never used the plugin.
Alright, hold on, I gotta look it
There's
up.
programs you can download on your computer. There's also other websites that I can just give the root, and it goes through and it checks all. the
Right,
links.
yeah,
So I keep it completely off.
right, yeah, that works too.
on one site I was working on the first time I ran it, they had 720 links and 260.
That's not good.
They tried to do that.
Well, they probably linked a lot to one site, I would guess.
No, no, it's
Oh.
not extreme.
Oh, internal broken, oh, that's not good. Gotcha. So internal broken link, that's a good case too for redirection. They have a great tool in there, a 404 checker. So if someone ever hits a 404 not found page on your site, it'll keep a log of those for you. And you say, wow, these are all the pages on our site people are finding that aren't there. And then with one click, you say, hey, next time someone hits that bad link, send them here instead. Like, because that site over there had a typo and they keep sending people the wrong one. So instead of making them fix it, just say, hey, redirection. Next time someone types that in, have them go here. Next time they say that one in, have them go here. Next time that one, you know, you can just set up redirects for that very quickly with their tool that is automatically logging all that for you.
That tool is called Screaming Frog, and it will crawl your website and do your broken links.
I was thinking
Yes.
Screaming Frog and Spy Foo, and it's like,
Yeah, I
you
just-
kind of mixed them.
I
Yeah,
messed them up. But yeah, then that way you don't have to do it on your server. It
Right.
doesn't-
yeah. Screaming Frog is very popular too. That's it. Yeah. Well, screaming like yeah. It gives a good scream. Yeah.
Look, a lot of times it's just some link, because somebody has done something on the site, and taken down an image, for example,
Mm-hmm.
that a blog post from 4 years earlier had linked to. They took the image down, the image is gone.
Yeah.
So the unlinking doesn't really destroy anything, so just
Right.
unlink it.
Yeah.
So user
So
experience.
One of the things I've done, I've got a client who has 15,000 pages. They do content all the time, and
Say so.
it's always current. But the problem with doing a lot of current things is those things are sometimes are flash in the pans, and the person doesn't maintain their site, so you get a lot of broken links, which can decrease your authority. So what we did is instead of doing a search and replace for each link, we created a broken link page and said, hey, and explained, when you are doing a lot of current stuff, sometimes links change, and it's almost like a 404 page, but it's just for all the broken links. Do a search and replace just to that one page.
Gotcha. Okay. I was wondering how you automatically. Okay, but you do a search and
Do a
replace.
search and replace instead of doing the one, but we take
Interesting.
all the broken links and you send them to this one broken link page and say, that resource is gone, but maybe you'd be interested in this.
So,
Interesting.
For example, let's say a product's been
That's pretty cool.
replaced by another product.
Mhm.
It's the simplest thing in the world. But 4 products have been replaced. They're no longer in existence, but and you send them to a new.
Right, you can suggest them a new page. But if it's like if you've got 10,000 broken links.
Right. In theory, you should
maybe
spend
it's
your
not
time and do it
worth-
right, but
Right.
yeah,
No,
if you
but then again, when you're faced with daunting tasks.
right.